Scott Simpson here for the Guilty as Charged podcast, talking fantasy football this week, talking Chargers running backs this week, talking Austin Ekeler and his value. Is he being undervalued, overvalued? Where should you be drafting him this year as you ramp up for your fantasy football drafts? Really excited. Let's jump right in and let's talk ADP real quick to see where our Chargers have kind of dipped and changed in the last month. This is taking a look using the fantasy football calculator. Last month, start of June, Austin Ekeler being drafted in the end of the first round, 111. Keenan Allen, beginning of the third, 103. Justin Herbert, 506, so middle of the fifth round. Mike Williams, almost end of the 11th round there at the 11-12 spot. So over the course of the last month, things have changed a little bit. Austin Ekeler, his value maybe being seen a little bit more in the community. He's gone up one spot. Keenan Allen stayed the same. Justin Herbert, almost a whole round dip. I think what's kind of come out is people are talking about regression and the possibility of him regressing this year, which is possible, but a whole round dip. I love that. Mike Williams, he's kind of gone down in value a little bit as well. So that's kind of the Chargers overview. What we want to look at today, though, is the value, though, of Austin Ekeler in particular. There's, I think, a great value to be had. And I'm not the only one, by the way, who thinks this. We're going to get into an article in a little bit, or a conversation that I listened to, and a little bit of an article that I read by Chris Hayre, Chargers team reporter. He had on James Coe from Reception Perception, works with Matt Harmon, and they talked about Austin Ekeler's value, and they had him valued as this is what James Coe said, he could be number 2 or number 3 overall in fantasy this year. So it's a really bold claim. I really like it. We're going to examine it, see if it actually carries weight or if it's just kind of smoke in the air. So let's start by first looking at where Austin Ekeler is being drafted right now. So this is 444's ADP. It collects a lot of different ADPs from different sites, which I love. So you can see right now, his ADP, he's around being drafted at the 11th spot, RB9, an underdog, he's getting drafted at the 12th spot, CBS 10, ESPN around 15, and so on as you can look down the line. Altogether averaged around the 111. Fantasy football calculator had him at the 110. So that's kind of where he's being drafted, up and down, probably in the first RB1 conversation, the first 10 RBs off the board is where he's going to go. Personally, we talked earlier about me having him ranked as my 6th RB this year, and that has not changed. My RB rankings, not to get too technical, but Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Alvinkumar, Saquon are all ranked ahead of Austin Ekeler for me, and then Austin Ekeler jumps in there in front of Jonathan Taylor, Zeke, Nick Chubb. Here you can see where they're ranked, but I love Austin Ekeler. I think he really does have upside, but we're going to examine it. Is it something that is going to be tangible this year, or is it kind of the hope and the dream? So Joe Lombardi coming over from the Saints. What I want to do is I also want to look at some of the data that's been collected on Alvinkumar and just take a look at what he did last year. And then compare it also to what Austin Ekeler did in 2019 when he was the 4th best highest scoring PPR running back. So let's take a look at Alvinkumar last year. He had 187 attempts. He amassed 932 yards. He didn't even score that many of his yards, or points to his yards. Only had 93 points from his yards last year from rushing. That's not a total huge value right there. But he made up for it in his touchdowns, which Austin Ekeler has not shown the ability to have, having 16 touchdowns. That kind of set him above. But he had 107 targets, 83 receptions, and added 5 touchdowns on top of that. That averaged 25 points per game, which was number one, gave him 77.8 points, which, in a regular PPR format, that's going to be the top scorer normally. If you're above 350, you're probably going to be the RB1 that year. So if we go back and take a look at that is Alvinkumar in Joe Lombardi's system. That's also with another back, Latavius Murray, getting regular carries in the offense. So Alvinkumar, getting most of the touches, most of the attempts, but not even being getting over 50% of the total rushing attempts. I think he had over 400 rushing attempts. So, he didn't even have 50% of them. So this is something that probably we're going to see similar with Austin Ekeler this year, probably not getting over 200 attempts. I'm guessing around 175 attempts would be kind of maybe where his ceiling is, looking at the data from before. But given that, what he did with those attempts, when we look at 2019, when he did rank as the 4th highest rated, scoring, he had 309 points, averaged 19.3 points per game. That season, he had 108 targets, and he was more efficient. He caught 10 more passes than Alvinkumar did this year, for a little bit more yards. He had 993 yards. Matt's together 8 touchdowns, which I like. He only had 3 rushing touchdowns. So that's the major issue that I have right now that's kind of keeping him from being the 2 or the 3, where James Coe was kind of saying that that's what he could end up. He could. I don't see that happening, and particularly unless he's used primarily as the goal line back. And I don't know what's going to happen with that. I think that's the biggest question. For me, though, I do think his PPR upside puts him in that top 6 conversation. And I do think he's going to be consistent with his target. So I think looking at what Alvinkumar did with his targets, getting over 100 targets, I think if Austin Ekeler stays healthy this year, he's going to be doing that as well. I think that he's going to be able to consistently give you at least 6 receptions a game. Last year when he came back, he averaged 6.2 receptions a game after his injury. He's a workout warrior. He's healthy this year. He's going to be giving you everything he has. And what I love about him too is he's similar to Alvinkumar in that he is not going to go down with the first person who hits him. He's got tremendous balance. He's able to shift his weight. He's able to anticipate hits. His footwork is tremendous. So Austin Ekeler does have a tremendous upside for yards after the catch. Averaging over maybe 10 yards of reception would be great this year for him. So that's something that I do see him excelling in, and that kind of does put him in that RB1 every week, upside. The thing is the touchdowns, and if he's going to be able to have that goal line presence. And so this is where kind of we look at what's happened in the past with him, where he's not been given that. Last year, Joshua Kelly was given some. They had different running backs in there too. Kalen Ballage was in there too. Got some carries. And then Justin Jackson, he hurt here and there. I'm not sure how that's going to work out this year. So I think that to me is the biggest question mark, kind of hindering him from being the top 2 or 3, or even in the top 5 this year. And then also, with that being said, looking at the ADP for the rest of the Chargers running backs, I do think there's value there. If Austin Ekeler goes down again, I think there's a lot of value to be had. And I'm not into handcuffing, but just kind of watching the waiver wire, seeing what's going on. You got to scroll down pretty far to find another Chargers running back who's being drafted, and we're talking way downtown. So Justin Jackson, here in the RB 66. So all the eggs are in the basket of Austin Ekeler this year. There's Joshua Kelly at RB 75. I don't even know. Roundtree's not even on there. So it really is all or nothing with Austin Ekeler. And I understand why, but I think we should also see, looking at Latavius Murray, looking at where he finished the last couple of years, if a Latavius Murray does emerge, somebody who can get some goal line carries. If we scroll down here, this was last season. Latavius Murray was RB 34 in PPR. He had 136 points. It's not terrible. It's serviceable. It's right on the fringe of RB 3. It doesn't sound great. But then if you even go back, this is 2019. We have Latavius Murray getting 157 points. So, there's going to be carries up for grabs. Austin Ekeler is not going to be the workhorse getting, 250 touches out of the backfield, and maybe pass attempts total. But if he pushes 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns, that puts him in that range. So I'm really comfortable drafting him where his ADP is, and even more so if I'm sitting at that 10, 11 spot and I see him being passed over. I love that. I hope he falls to me. I'll grab him every single draft, and I have him on a number of my best ball teams. So long story short, Austin Ekeler, I think he's a great value at the 111, 110 spot. Please draft him there every single time. If you can get him a little earlier, if you're in the 1-9, 1-8, go for it. I love it too. And if you get him the second round, holy crap, you're probably going to win your league anyway. But there's also value to be had just to kind of see where that value shakes out. Listen to the training camp reports. We'll be back. We'll be talking more about what's going on there as training camp kind of unfolds. But that second running back in Joe Lombardi's offense does have value. I don't think he's going to pass around to 3 different running backs every game. I think they want to establish a firm number 2 and really a worker. So see if Justin Jackson can kind of come off injury, if he can be successful. Joshua Kelly in year 2, or the rookie Roundtree, how it's going to go. So stay tuned. I'm excited about this season, especially with the running backs. Check out all the content for myself. You got to plug yourself too over at Nimble W Numbers on Twitter, nimblewnumbers.com for all your DFS content later coming in the fall. And do please go check out the Guilty as Charged podcast. It's Guilty as Charged podcast 17. My man Steven, Tyler, and Alex are crushing it, and Arjun is crushing it as well. Love him as well. So Love you guys. Have a great week. See you guys. Peace.